She's talking about us.
Okay, stop. My babies, because I dropped out of school. When I got here, my whole thing, when you come in from a different country, right? I can only speak to being a foreigner. The minute that you are being raised by your parents or even just the family around your environment, you're taught to be a doctor, Indian chief, lawyer. So when I came here, I felt like I was a disappointment to everybody because I was dropped out of school. I was showing up, but not showing up. I owe money. I don't owe money. But then I realized when I had my children, I had to go back to school because then I thought to myself, I came here for a reason because I grew up well in Jamaica. So I came here for a reason, and the reason was to be somebody, to be something, and to share my message. So as crazy as that sounds, I'm not crazy, but as generic as it sounds that you say, children, that's it. Because my daughter, she's the one that pushed me to finish my bachelor's. My son, he's the one that pushed me to go get my PhD. And by the way, it took me 10 years, by the way, to get my PhD.
Come on now.
Years.
That's powerful.
But guess what I did? I showed up. I showed up for myself every day. I showed up even with my eyesight. This just happened 8 years ago.
That's your daughter right there talking.
Hey,
yes,
baby. Yes, you did. Yes, we did. And those were the days. I remember days that we used to sit up and I used to write papers, and she was 3 and I had my 1-year-old and I had my foot on his thing while I was typing. I was in a relationship back then at one point where they were just like, you're back in school? Yes, I am. Right? And also with my ADHD, it wasn't easy. It was not easy because that came with its own challenges. I'm not going to take up all the time, but that came with its own challenges. They put me on medication. I didn't even know how to even react to my kids. Now I was numb. Now I wasn't numb. And now I'm hyper. Now I'm not hyper. It was crazy. And it's 8 years of being on that 8 years, and I just winged myself off it 3 years ago. Literally. I went on a trip with my best friends when we went to Egypt, and I promised myself, I said, I'm going to go and sit down by the Red Sea without no pills in me. And I meant that. I was on Adderall for 8 years, and I didn't know I didn't know who was showing up that day. I didn't know what I was getting myself into that day. I didn't know how I was even responding to people. So you talk about courage, baby. When I tell you I serve an almighty God. When I tell you I serve an almighty God. And let me tell you something, and within that 10 years, when I didn't have my eyesight and I had a patch on, I was still typing my papers because I was looking at my children and I knew I was going to be somebody and I knew I was going to get somewhere. And I showed up for myself. So, baby, when I tell you courage is God, it is nothing but God, and I will